All right. Hello, I'm Anthony Avilas,
Hello, I'm Alex Leclerc.
and I'm going to be presenting first. So this is my presentation on To Kill a Mockingbird and Jim Crow laws. We're going to be using a KWL plus chart, and we're going to be using, this is for an 8th grade classroom. So, first up, so on your own, write down within the K column of your KWL plus chart what you know about Jim Crow laws. So I unfortunately do not have a physical copy. And this would also be for a classroom activity for the students to kind of like, for a few minutes, kind of jot down their notes and what they know about Jim Crow laws. And at this point, these kids probably wouldn't know too much about Jim Crow laws, so I'd probably give them around 2 minutes just so there's not a lot of dead time. But what do you know about Jim Crow laws?
I know that it primarily took place in the South in the
Yes.
United States. It was definitely targeting African Americans with discrimination and inequality.
Okay, yeah. So again, I would let my students kind of talk. They would work on their own quietly first for 2 minutes, kind of stating stuff like Alex said, like what they know in general about Jim Crow laws. And then once I gave them those 2 minutes, I would bring them all back, and I would say, okay, so now within your groups, within your tables, work with your partners to kind of write down questions that you have about Jim Crow laws or what you would like to know about Jim Crow laws. So again, this one would probably be a little bit longer than 2 minutes, maybe 3 or 4 minutes long, just so they have time to kind of discuss what they want to find out and any questions that they have in general about Jim Crow laws. So, Alex, what do you want to know about Jim Crow laws?
I'd like to know how it directly impacted individuals, what specific laws impacted African Americans the most when it came to all the Jim Crow laws.
Okay. So most kids would ask questions like that, wanting to know how it impacted African Americans. Some kids would probably want to know the origins of where Jim Crow laws came from, and so included I also have a article. So I would ask them to get into groups and find 10 facts that they find interesting or facts that they just didn't know about Jim Crow laws that are essential to understanding Jim Crow laws. And I, again, do not have a physical copy of said article, but I do have the link down here. It'll be in the PowerPoint. And this article kind of, it explains the origins of Jim Crow laws, where they originated from, the term Jim Crow, where that name came from, the essential figure, which is this man here, where that caricature came from. We talk about the protests against Jim Crow laws, the backlash to those protests, and it also talks about how there are modern implications of Jim Crow laws today. So, Alex, I'm not going to assume you're going to be able to pull those facts out of your head because we don't have the article here, but just try to give me one other fact just to kind of simulate what it would be like in a class. Just give me another fact about Jim Crow laws, if you can think of any.
So Jim Crow laws started ending in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, so, and what I would do is I would have these students kind of talk amongst themselves, and they'd be able to work together to find these facts, so they'd be able to discuss those facts together, and I, as a teacher, would walk around ensuring that they're staying on task, filling in their charts, and finding the essential 10 facts that are necessary for the lesson. I picked 10 facts just because I feel like 10 facts is a substantial amount of facts for the students to find to get a better understanding of Jim Crow laws. So at the end, I would have a majority of questions that I have listed here. It would help to direct discussion to try to help other groups find out information that maybe they didn't find in their group of kids. And these guiding questions are kind of just very simple, like, what did you find? What did you know beforehand? What did you want to know beforehand? Do you think Jim Crow laws would still be something similar to Jim Crow laws could come into effect today? Why or why not? And then what was your opinion when looking at the pictures in the slideshow? And we'll see if the kids pick up on that, on the pictures as I go. I wouldn't explain them as we go. And then they'd be like, oh, what pictures? And then I would go back and start kind of going through the pictures on the front page, on the second and third slides. And I would have more slides because this would be a longer lesson. So I would have multiple pictures of actual Jim Crow protests and all that kind of stuff, and kind of slip back through the slides as we're having discussions to promote continuous conversation. Alex, what out of all these questions, answer one of these questions, whichever one speaks to you.
So what were some of your questions going into this activity about Jim Crow?
So what were some of the questions you had, maybe?
So yeah, a few of the things I thought about were, how did it affect individual African Americans like in their daily life?
Mm-hmm.
Like when did this problem start? How long did it continue persisting for? I think were questions that I had going into this.
Did you find those answers in the article?
Yeah, I did. The article was very helpful. I wrote it in the L column after I learned about that. So.
Yeah. So in that situation, he would be able to give the facts that he found. But if a kid did not find the facts, I would say, does anybody else have that information? And see if any other groups had it. And if they did not have it, I would have it on hand. I'd have the article in my hand as well to be able to cite and point the kids towards evidence. So it helps them to kind of like go through a text and understand. It's a close reading kind of strategy to be able to go into an article with a lot of facts. Because I intentionally picked an article with a larger amount of facts just so they had to sift through them and make sure they picked the correct facts or facts that just matter to them that are important. So that class discussion would probably take up another 4 minutes or so, and that would be my whole presentation. So yeah, that's my presentation. Thank you, Alex, for being my model student.
Absolutely.
And that's my presentation.